My name is Tomas Olovsson, and I'm the CTO of AppGate Network Security. And we work with network solutions, mainly role-based access control to various network resources. So we're not really in the eID business as itself, because we don't provide any authentication mechanisms, but we rely on them for the services we offer. So we kind of offer the services that we heard of before. And as a, say, non-eID service provider, I would really very much like to see the eID cards to be taking off. But I will also come with some suggestions and some thoughts about how this can be done. How can we actually do this and make this happen? Because what we would like to see is very much single sign-on solutions, where situations where I don't need to carry around, say, 5, 10, 50, maybe even 50 different identities, but just one, and hopefully that could be the eID card, for example. The problem is kind of one of the problems. If you look back into history in Sweden, it's a very good example where people have tried to do this about 10 years ago and it failed. The main reason, well, let's start with the players were actually Royal Mail and Swedish Telecom to begin with. They were competing and they wanted to issue national ID cards with smart card support. And then the banks, of course, after a while also wanted to be in this business. And of course they came up with incompatible solutions. Some service providers were compatible with one solution, some other with the other one, but it never took off. And the main reason, there are 3 reasons, but the main reason, at least if you talk to me, is that they wanted to charge for the service. They wanted to make money. And of course everyone wants to make money, but the problem here was that for each transaction, which means that each time you log into a system, each time you access a service, the service provider needed to verify the CRLs, the certificate revocation lists, to make sure this is still a valid certificate. And of course, the eID provider here wanted to charge for that check. And the amount of money was something like somewhere between 10 and 30 cents per transaction. But that is still something. This cost made this really. It was a major problem because larger corporations or even private persons, if you wanted to sign into something, if I want to read my mail, each time I need to pay something 10 to 30 cents just to read my email. And of course, the issue is they wanted to make money. They thought, well, hey, I want to be here. That's why we have all these players. They wanted to be here. But the problem was they didn't get that many users. And of course, with no users, you didn't get any service providers. There were no incentive to create services because there were no users. So it's kind of catch-22. Everyone was waiting for the other side and never really took off. So that's something we can think of when we want to try to implement this here in the future. There's a new attempt in Sweden. This is brand new, actually. This is something, a proposal that came up here, I think this week, actually. It's not even being, well, it's hardly being published, and there's no decisions yet. The decisions will be taken sometime next year or the next year, I think. This time they want to have identity federations instead, have multiple players in the field, but they want to have, instead of incompatible solutions, they should work in parallel. They can offer different solutions, but it should still be the same identity that they offer to the service providers. So it's one identity, but you can have different players that actually verifies this identity. The government is responsible for the requirements. They actually set up the rules for these identity providers, and they also want to extend this so you can have support for corporate ID cards, like I represent AppGate Network Security, for example, or I represent an organization as such. We also have similarities with Liberty Alliance. If you want, you can look at the web, look it up a little bit. But this is still a new attempt where they hope that this time they might make everything right, or at least more right than the previous one. What could we do to improve the functionality? Well, one thing we would like to use as a user is, instead of having a lot of user IDs or use different services that you can use, if I want to log into some system, I can actually use, it would be nice if I can use my eID card, for example, to use it, but I would also like to use pseudonyms or account federation. In that case, if I sign in to, say, Hotmail, I don't want to use my own identity. But it would be nice if the system or some service provider can actually provide me. If I give them my eID name, I can be authenticated correctly. Someone can actually keep track of this and tell Hotmail, my name at Hotmail is, I don't know, Tom1234, for example. And it could be the kind of single sign-on solution because it provides a secure authentication to Hotmail or to any other service, actually. But for me, it's really single sign-on because I use the same system whenever I want to sign in. I use the same mechanism. But this also needs to be combined in that case with situation-dependent data, which is another problem in this case, because obviously we want to work with different applications we would like to disguise, or actually we want to hide certain information. I might not want, if I, for example, do, let's say, ebook. In this case, the requirements might be completely different from, for example, if I log into a tax authority, or if I want to do some e-shopping online. I still want to be service provider with my identity, but maybe not for my full personal number, maybe not everything stored in the database. But in certain cases, it might be that I want to, for example, if I want to buy alcohol, my full personal number might not be what I want to send to them, but they might want to know that I'm of legal age, for example. So in that case, they can transform that data into some other into some other form and submit it. And another thing that would be nice is also to have properties. So it actually regulates how can this be used. Not just I sign into a service and then they can use it for whatever, but maybe I can sign in and with that identity comes something. With a pseudonym or something comes something. For example, I can use this for e-shopping only or whatever it happens to be. So it's kind of a role-based ID. We have heard very much about role-based access control, but here it's role-based IDs. So if you actually extend it, so we just not provide certain a true verification of my ID, but actually extend this, it would be very, very much more useful. But it might also make that this actually takes off. I can use it. There's one way I sign in, and then with account federation and all the stuff, it could actually offer single sign-on to lots of applications for me and on behalf of me. Problems in this is that we have phishing attacks, and when I use this when I use a digital ID like this, some services require very high security. Some other services require less security. And one problem is, of course, if there's a man in the middle. I sign into a service, but it happens to be another service than the service that I actually thought it was, and someone is using my identity to access whatever it is. So with this electronic ID, the eID cards, it's a danger, it's a big danger, that if I can use it for lots of different applications and I happen to be giving my identity to someone else who logs into a system on behalf of me, that's not very nice, that's not very good. A malware client, and it might be that we have to accept that the eID solution is not 100% sure. Depends how we implement this, and especially if we have multiple players, it might be that we actually have to live with the fact that in some cases we might have to go back and have to put some doubts on whether it was me that actually performed the service. As a technician, this it might not be that hard, but the legal system finds this very hard. And it might not be that good if I sign in to buy some books at Amazon.com, for example, and there happened to be a man in the middle that took my identity, logged into, I don't know, tax authorities and changed some stuff, that I will be held 100%, well, according to the laws, through the legal system. There's 100% certainty that I did this. There's no doubt whatsoever. From a technical point of view, 100% security will never happen, but we probably have to convince the legal system that this is correct. This is basically what I said. If we can make all this happen, in that case, I think eID could actually take off. We should not make the same mistakes as what was done 10 years ago. just see that, hey, this is a way to make money, especially the service providers, to make money, but actually make this something which is useful, something where the end user sees there's a benefit, something that will actually attract us to use the system. In that case, it will actually take off. Otherwise, it will still just be yet another authentication system. And if I have 50 together already today, I will have 51 tomorrow. Will I be more happy? Probably not. And I have some questions, but we'll save them until the end. There are some obvious questions in this, and maybe if you don't have that many questions, we might we might be able to return to these questions later on. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.